Greetings everyone, this is Lodrik. This is the game War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. In the match against Dojo. This is now a special episode for after action about the situation, and maybe a little more detailed information. And what is maybe my overall strategy, maybe also the losses so far, the whole of the war, and so on and so on. Unluckily, I cannot use the tracker. I copy from my original PC, desktop PC, everything to my laptop, but somehow the tracker is not working, and maybe I can get it done sooner or later, but not today. I also changed a 22,000. I think this is fine. More I cannot say to this ratio. The operational losses is equally. And I can only maybe I can say that because I normally attack most of the time, I have much higher damaged airplanes by flak. I also run much more sorties, so the operational losses compared to Dojo are normally small, I would say. because if you have high number of damaged airplanes by flak, or simply maintenance issues or landing accidents, all of this stuff, because you run more of sorties, then you would normally also have more operational losses, I would say. But it is like it is. At least the 1-to-1 ratio is no big issue for me. I would say it's good. And I stay now at the beginning of April at a major victory. But I think this major victory is always for the end game. So if I can play the game up to, I think, June 46 is the end of the game. Uh, and if I can keep this ratio, then I will have a major victory. But this is a 46. This is far, far in the future. So I normally try something like an auto victory in 43, but I maybe will not push too aggressive for this. Uh, but I can talk about this later. But I simply, I don't know if Dojo not have something now uh, coming to strike back, then I'm not so sure how he can survive 43. Let's say this. The kill ratio is now nearly 19 to 8. So, and if I want to have the auto victory, I need 4-1. So something like, maybe if I can let Dojo's score drop down to 7,000, this is maybe possible. I think 6,000 is not really possible. The Allies get too much equipment, too many new ships, and the ships have value, and so the Allies get points. So I think maybe keep Dojo around 7,000 is maybe possible. But this also means that I need 2,800 points. So roughly 9,000 more victory points from today on, and it's hard to get them. So we will see. It's if I can sink some of carriers of Dojo's carrier and maybe cruiser formations. Battleships are not more much left, so this will give some points. Maybe I must kill more Chinese units. This will also help. Naja. Yeah, and then the bases, I mean, I control more bases than Dojo, but Dojo's bases have still more value. Okay, yeah, of course. San Francisco, San Diego, Sydney, Melbourne, and all of India. There are many big cities. I catch only many small islands. So I have the base, but I don't have the points. This is the same with the air. This is now the total number of air kill ratio. Yeah, 13 to 8. It's of course good. So long the Japanese keep the 1-to-1 kill ratio, I would say it's okay. Normally the Japanese airplanes are cheaper, but this is in this game there's this missing. There is no money value or character in this game, so it's only based on engines, I think. So one engine, two engines, three engine, four engine, and then it's a give points. So, but how big is the engine? How expensive is the whole equipment of the airplane? No part of this calculation. And normally, of course, American airplanes are much more expensive, heavier, and all this stuff. More guns, more heavy engine, protection, all this stuff. The Japanese only try to build light, nimble airplanes. Uh, yeah, the the real outstanding value is of course this kill ratio in the land war. Uh, but I'm lacking the experience what other players have. I maybe can check, but I've really forgot how TRG and XTRG was at the 1st of April situation. And XTRG's second game, I think, is also now offline. But I don't know how other players have here a kill ratio normally. Uh, but I play it a little slow, but a little more safe. So I really try not to burn too many of my army units. Many say the Japanese have nearly unlimited manpower supply. This is, I would say, correct. But even if you burn through your armies, you still must supply them and reinforce them. And uh, this normally all burns supplies. And again, the biggest issue I would say with the Japanese mm, play, yeah, or the biggest Japanese handicap is simply the lack of supplies and how you overcome this or how you manage this. And I simply say I don't want to burn too many supplies for my army or with my army for unnecessary losses. If I can still conquer the bases I need in time, I still be. I mean, maybe I'm a little slow in Rangoon, maybe a little slow in Java, uh, but sooner or later I normally can finish this all somewhere in April, so that maybe 1st of May maybe it's the same situation like the Japanese in reality. And this is, I think, the minimum we must achieve. And I maybe have less losses, but it's really hard. I don't know how other players can go. And maybe I start my new game now this coming week. Then I can compare to this dojo game style where I play it a little more safe and a little more slow, and maybe in the new game I can play it a little more aggressive, risk a little more, but not too much more because I would say I'm still successful. So why I won't change something? It is also always the interaction with how the allied player act. So dojo is super passive. We will see how this is in the next game. Uh, that the allies lost 384 ships already. I mean, these values are fog of war. Um, I mean, the ship's value, ship sunk is always heavily fog of war. Army points, I'm not sure if there is fog of war. And the airplane losses are not 100%, but I think there's not too much fog of war inside. So the ship losses from official kill ratio or kills scores oh 384 with over 3000 points, and I think these are points the allied player lost. So if Dojo lost no ship up to now, he normally gets 3000 more points on this score, so he will be near to 11,000 normally, but these points I steal already from him. And for me, it is normally more important to steal points from Dojo because I must have a 4-to-1 kill ratio. So it will benefit me if I can reduce Dojo's points, not increase my own points. Yeah, okay. So, and I lost 25 ships. This is, I think, totally fine. Uh, Dojo use only mainly submarines. His navy bombers was so far not really successful. B-25, B-26, B-17, all this stuff, and all this Dutch British bomber formations they fail. Okay, then we can check the air losses so far. I mean, of today we had already. I can show this again here. The Air Hqs. Uh, and other stuff gets destroyed, but nothing really too special. Maybe we can check more the overall. And of course, the zero will be maybe always the number one in kills total, simply because the Japanese they only produce at least up to now mainly zeros and Oscars. But the Oscars I don't really use too much. Uh, Zeros have a much more active in this game. But this is also related to Zeros have better pilots most of time. They have more range and they have simply more better guns. Uh, yeah, and my carriers only can use Zeros, so sure. So the Oscars normally are only land-based fighters, so they have also limited operational use. Anyway, the zeros are now 140 killed, but these numbers here, the Japanese numbers are true, the Allied numbers are maybe 95% true, but they can always go, I think not more than 10% change up or down. But I always say count this as true values because I don't care so much. Sooner or later, these numbers will, mm, yeah, be correct. Be- One moment. This was my temperature check every day here in the hotel. In the morning and in the afternoon, the staff have to check the temperature to see if someone gets sick. Don't ask me what happened when the people get sick. We are here in China. Better don't ask this kind of questions. Yeah. So So the zero is my normally. I think 67, 80% of my air battles are fought out with zeros, and the rest are the Oscars. Uh, the Oscar is not bad, but it's maybe better to defend something and not too much to attack. We still have here some. These are the buffaloes. These are the Dutch buffaloes. These are the American buffaloes. P40. These are flying tigers. So flying tigers are P39s or P40s. I don't know. I never can really split this. P40, P39, uh, but they are flying tigers. And I don't know more. I think these are Dutch level bombers. Now, yeah, anyway, if you know this the type, you can check it. And I can scroll here or go here slowly down. Only, I think most of these airplanes are already outdated, so we will not see here any increase of kills more. Maybe the B-26. I hope I can kill some more B-26. This will be always fine. Yeah. So here this is less and less. Only if someone like to see this. The only point is here is my Dojos. This is the experimental engine of airframe you cannot produce. So I lost already three from ops losses. But yeah, if I lose one airplane per month, I think this is totally fine. And important is here's also already the lightning. So Dojo, no, this is the lightning. But we have only one air to air. This is the airplane gets killed in the air. The other one gets damaged and returned to base, but was not operational losses. So really only one P-38 is dead so far. But it was really a very unimpressive first encounter for me because I heard that many say that this P-38 Lightning is really a killer airplane, and the Japanese have we always a hard time to get rid of them. Yeah, but it is like it is. So this is the air loss stuff, and now we can maybe check. I can maybe check what is coming because normally I don't do this. Or we can first check the ship sunk. So ship sunk's last turn we had already. There's nothing new. The Ramillis is I think not really dead, but it is now here in this list official dead. I can maybe first go all dates Japanese losses via points maybe. Only an overview. So this has this, and then you can see here the date I lost it and where I lost it. So most of this cargo stuff lost in the early beginning. You can see this is all December 41, and in the first 1 week or 2 weeks maximum of the war, I lost a lot of cargo shipping and troop transport stuff. But this is heavily related to if you want to attack in Malaya, you're on range of the British Air Force, and even the Dutch Air Force can maybe strike back. But these are the bomb hits. But you also have here this 155. This is the coast. This is also the 180 millimeter. This is all coast battery fire. So counter battery fire from some land installation. And some torpedo hits. Somehow Dojo have also torpedo hit. And here are my, and this is normally nearly all. I mean, this is small stuff. I don't care. 1 point patrol ships are, I built them to get killed by submarines more or less. So this is fine. It's sub chaser, of course, to lose against the torpedo is not so funny, but can happen. Yeah. Again, this is 120 millimeter coastal defense battery. Can always happen. Can always happen. This has a shitty small mini submarines. They have normally no use, so I never use them more after the first turn. The most important ships I lost are my destroyers. So far I lost no light cruiser, no heavy cruiser, no battleship, nothing. Only destroyers. And out of these destroyers, I normally only care these two uh, I mean, this is really I already said this is 900 tons. This is an escort destroyer. They have no fighting power. You can normally not use this kind of destroyers in the sea battle. At least they will not have any real big impact. 12 centimeter guns are too small to really penetrate anything. Maybe good for cargo hunting, but not for destroyer against destroyer. This will not work. And they also have only 4 torpedo tubes. This is too much, too less firepower. This is really only escort ship. The 6 point ship is already a little better. Have already better torpedoes, more mounts, but still only 12 centimeter. So still, I would say these ships normally I always convert to escort duty later, if possible. These are the better ships. So this is already 2,000 ton, 8 points. This kind of ships I don't like to lose. They have everything what you need. They even have the better sub hunter equipment. They can already attack submarines in the early war, deep water, and there are not so many ships the Japanese have to do this. Uh, but this was yeah, can happen. And this is the super unlucky hit, I would say, nearly impossible. I would never imagined that a British torpedo from this two British destroyers they running away. My fleet tried to catch up. I hit the firepower. I normally can get rid of them, and somehow some lucky British torpedo score a hit, and immediately sunk here my really very good destroyer, 2,500 tons, top of the art Japanese technology. Uh, really a waste. 10 points. Compare this to the Allies destroyers. They all have only 5 points or 6 points. So these are really high value ships. Uh, Uh, but this was really Dojo's lucky hit. But of course, if I compare this now to all of the war, to losing he up to now in 4 months 4 destroyers, and from out of these 4 destroyers only 2 first-class destroyers and 2 second-class or escort duty destroyers normally. This is nearly nothing. So a perfect score for the Japanese Navy so far. Especially if I compare this now to the Allies. Oops. The Allies have, I mean, here's a Ramillis, so maybe don't care this Ramillis battleship too much, but the carrier is for sure dead. The Repulse is dead, yeah. Maryland is also dead because it's over 3 months old, so I must have true information now. Royal Sovereign is also dead, we saw it already go down. And the Nevada is dead. So I have now really true information about mid Pearl Harbor. So I sunk in my first strike Maryland and Nevada. So 2 out of 8 battleships gets killed, and the rest is more or less damaged, I hope. And but one thing is missing here. Yeah. So what is not here is the Prince of Wales. I am nearly 100% sure that the Prince of Wales is dead because at the first strike of Port Colombo, there was a Prince of Wales. At the second strike, there was this Prince of Wales, and the second strike, I create many 800 kilogram bomb hits. But at the third attack, there was no Prince of Wales more. So I don't think that I missed completely the battleship. But okay. So maybe the total number is more or less now correct, only that the name is wrong. So the Ramillis is now not dead, but the Prince of Wales is dead. Prince of Wales have maybe a little more points, maybe 205, something like this, similar to the Repulse. But so the total number of battleships are here correct. One carrier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 battleships. The Hermes is also, I don't know. I know I struck the Hermes with 2 torpedoes, but I never get any other information more about this. So can be. But if we see this is now all true, then the Hermes is also, the British lost at maybe already 50% of their aircraft carrier and 50% of the battleship fleet. Then we have here also some heavy cruisers. Indianapolis with 40 points. And Cornwall, the British pendant, with 39 points. Okay. But not too many other heavy cruisers or light cruisers. Exeter is also here dead. Okay. And one light cruiser, the Glasgow. Somehow the Glasgow have more points than the Exeter. Not so sure. Oh yeah, it's 9,100 tons for the Glasgow. Ah yeah, okay. The Exeter only have 8,400 tons, so it's really smaller. Good. Important is normally here, I mean, the military losses for Dojo, especially for the British Navy, is maybe high and will force Dojo to be very passive in Indian Ocean. For the Americans, I think it's historically correct. Nothing really outstanding here. But what is now coming is, of course, the high losses on tanker, AMCs, some more light cruisers here, but these are the Reuter, Colombo, Caledon. These are all British or Dutch ships, so nothing really crazy, but many troop transports and more tanker. The amount of tankers I was able to sunk so far is really impressive, I would say, and also troop transport. So many troop transport, and also some submarines, and more submarines. Yeah, also many submarines strike on Manila was successful compared to the Japanese. The Japanese they simply not understand how important it is to strike Manila. But if you as a Japanese player, I would always say maybe it's even fast more important to really strike Manila compared to Pearl Harbor. Uh, but of course, to damage the American battleships will help the Japanese to at least have 1 year uh, control over the sea with their own battleships. But battleships not win the war, so it's a question if this really helps so much. So, and then we have many more. So we have also many of these Americans. They're all Manhattan. I think they're all Manhattan. Or Pictally, you cannot see the class of ship. I would normally have here some information immediately what kind of class it is. Not must touch them. I can see it on the points, but sometimes this is a Sims class. But Sims class and Manhattan class have the same point value. So, uh, but okay, maybe for the next patch, if there ever is a patch. So more cargo ship, more destroyers going down. What is the 5 point? Ah, Vickers class ship. Okay. And more and more and more and more and more. And now we're coming close. This is another 2 points. So these are the many, many 2 point ships. Even if you lose 2 point ships or 1 point ships and think they have no real value. If you kill enough of them, they maybe have a value. Okay, I think this is enough. Good. This is now all for this sunk ships, destroyed airplanes. Destroyed ground units. I'm sorry, I cannot show you anything because I only can see my own units and I lost nothing. I mean, I lost, I think, one or two of my tank scout recon units, but I rebuilt them immediately. So there's nothing in my list. Okay, okay, okay. So what is coming? Let's say this, or top pilots maybe. Some people like to watch top pilot stuff. Today I lost 6 pilots, uh, and 4 are wounded. I hope they come back, and 1 is missing. Yeah. So in overall, I lost now. This are killed. This 300 plus the 100 missing, so 400, 430, 440 pilots lost. And if you compare this to airplanes lost, 826. So 50% of my pilots can somehow survive if the airplane shut down. This is a good ratio, I would still say. Good, but what I want to show is pilots. So my aces, I don't have too many aces. Some are in training school, and I have still no one with 10 kills, but okay. But most important is I only miss this guy. I hope I can find him back. He's a ace, but normally now not more. I lost him long time ago. And many are 4 or 3 killed. Some are here killed, but not too many. But most of them, I mean, 90% is here Navy. Navy pilots, 0 pilots, 0 pilots, 0 pilots, 0 pilots. Okay, and I think there was some. Yeah, let's say this. So this is reinforcement pool. No, not so. So this is what is coming now. The Japanese, of course, they never get really too much stuff. Uh, this is only some equipment for AV, so uh, air tender, then some stuff for some cruisers. Yeah, you can see this. I get some long range. The H6 and H8, they're always good. You can never have enough of them. This long range patrol boats, flying boats. This is red because I never took a Makin, so I'm a little in rush to take Makin now. I'm not really sure what happened if I don't have the base, if the time uh, arrive. So maybe this squadron simply will be on hold. But I will normally try to take Makin before the 8 days are over. So for sure I get this squadron with 9 airplanes. But again, with Japanese, if you say this squadron have 9 maximum, but the game gives me only 2. And they are damaged. So, and you can see this is 60 days. So in the next 2 months, I get here, most importantly, I get here this new carrier. And the new carrier have zero fighters, dive bombers, torpedo bombers. And this is more or less all. One moment. Okay. This was my colleague just called me from China. So back where we was at aircraft reinforcements, but I think there was not more much to say about this. We can see here what is coming. So I get this roofs, 0 fighters, but based on swimmers, so they can operate like a seaplane. I normally not a big fan of this, but the biggest advantage is that normally this kind of squadrons, they are around 9. It's possible to upgrade them later to normal 0 fighters. And normally after they are normal 0 fighters, then it's maybe possible to send them to a carrier, then regroup them, and then you can change the group size, and then you have a full new squadron of 0 fighters. And you get, it's in total, I think, 3 of them. Kakao, Maki, and somewhere else. I think maybe I have one in Tokyo already. Let me check. What is Tokyo? Yeah. No, this is a Jake. Then I don't know more where they. Somewhere they will come out. Here. Ah, yeah. So we have here this roof, and I can later upgrade this to the A6M5. And normally after it is the A6M5, I think the upgrade pass is then completely open, because I play this game with Dojo with open upgrade pass. I would always play this game only with open upgrade pass, because it's a completely strange believing that the admiral or general in charge cannot decide what airplanes he use. So there's no discussion for me. The only problem is I must get this A6M5 before I can really use this kind of air wing. So far I can only use it normally. I fill up to 9 airplanes, then I put new pilots in, and then I let them train fighter pilots. Because this it's fighter. They are float fighters, but later they are normal fighters, so they can train normal escort or sweep, and then they're fine. Good. This is only a short talk about this, why I do this and what I do with them. The rest is not so important. A6, no, H6, A8 long range. This is short range float planes. Key 46. I try to push as fast as possible to the 3rd edition. And I mean, it's not wrong to have them. Always use them for active duty or for training. I really don't have maybe the use for so many army bombers. I mean, I use them now mainly in China for training. In China for training bombardment, something like this. But in Japan, I use a lot of stuff for training. Normally, Japan, Manchukuo, I still only training. Okay. Ships. Ah, yeah, maybe what the Japanese get in the next days. Better turn up, down. So, a tanker, cargo ship, sub-chaser, assistant, the submarine, small equipment. So the most important is in 28 days. So already still, or end of April, I get the next carrier. But so far, I know this will be maybe the last carrier in the next day. Yeah. So from all carriers are coming. The Hero is the next big carrier. And then I get a escort carrier and a light carrier in September 42. And then it's over. So the Hero is a medium carrier. The big difference is that the speed is low compared to fast fleet carriers. And only 53 airplanes, but it's still enough to create a strike force. And 18 torpedoes. Yeah. So I will normally rearrange the group size after it's possible. And well, it's a good carrier, but it's a medium carrier. It's not a fleet carrier. Or you can call it maybe a small fleet carrier, something like this. So this is the most important ship is coming in April. And after that we get a one destroyer, okay, more tankers. And every month more or less one destroyer. And maybe every month one submarine. Something like this. And this is for the next 2 months already. So 2 destroyers, one carrier, and some equipment. I normally all of this troop transport, cargo ships, tankers. I will normally keep them in Japan in port if I not really use them. They have so many ships in backup because sooner or later Dojo will start with this real submarine campaign, and I will also lose more or less maybe more equipment in the future, and then I need something for backup. And my ports are already running at maximum, and there's not unlimited stuff for me to ship. So ships is not so much coming. So what else? Group ground reinforcements is I think not so. But the Japanese get something. So I get here in the next days engineers, anti-aircraft, Air Hqs. This is important. 2 new Air Hqs, so I can maybe set up more air bases and run them with high efficiency. And then I get a lot of this additional Navy Guard units, mostly normally to guard something. So maybe to defend some islands, maybe where Dojo won't strike. But it's not more that I can really use them so much in active role. Luganville, Nomaya, Sova. This is, I think, maybe the last big operations for island hopping for me. So this is coming the next months. Important is for me. There's a army headquarter, and this is a this is a 3-star general. One more army and then it's already 2 months. So this is the end of 2 months rule. So 2 more army HQs. This is army air wing then. And there army HQ. Okay. Good. So compared to the allies, this is nothing, but at least there's something coming. Good. I don't know if there's much more to say. Maybe engine pool. I can show you something. What is my pool? So the maximum point. So I have here a lot of H35 engines, but you need this high number because you need to keep the engine over 500 to get the A&D bonus, 100% A&D bonus if you have over 500 engines. With the H34, I try the same. Soon I will arrive this. The H33 need much longer time. I was a little slow with this. Maybe in the future, in my next game, I will maybe push the 33 a little more. The same with the 32. Not so sure if they normally the 35 is most of important out of this all, but it's will not hurt to have uh, this bonus, of course. And these other engines, you can see they are normally only storage. I will never use them. There's no way that I really consume them. Maybe if you start the game, you can keep producing some of these old engines or old airframes and try to consume these air engines because you have them for free. But all you will produce are only training airplanes because they're all outdated already at the start of the war. So I'm not so sure if it really makes sense. Yeah, yeah. So you can see what is here in my storage. Maybe you see something interesting for you, but I'm not so sure. But at least I can show it. Troop, same for troops. So I have a lot of heavy industry points. This is only these are not true values. This is only by the game. This is 20,000, so don't care them so much. But I have a lot of heavy industry points. I have a lot of armament points. Uh, so I can normally fit a lot of infantry units, something like this. And I also have this 88 mine. These are submarine mines, but I'm not really be a big fan of submarine mines. It's maybe you can have a strategy for this, but so far I don't really. It's it's too complicated in too short a period of time that these mines will work. And I think it's only really useful if you can bring the mines in the enemy port. But enemy ports have their own minefield if there's business and traffic. So it's dangerous, and I think looking out nearby a harbor is much more efficiency to use submarines. But yeah, and you can see what I have else, whatever it's if someone is interested in this. Good. And what is this? This is only other list, but this makes no sense. So, okay. Um, yeah, let's shortly talk about the overall strategy. I mean, it's not nothing really new. Um, Manchukuo, I always try only to get out what is possible with with high fighting value. I mean, there are many forces in Manchukuo, but I always try to get first only full divisions out if possible, and then I will also check how high is their experience level and their TOE, because some different, not every division have the same TOE setup, so sometimes they have a little more fighting power, but you will always see this in the assault strength normally. So the most important for me is experience after assault value. And maybe also if they are connected to the Quantum Overall Army Command, or if they are connected to an army. It's normally better to use to take divisions out connected to an army, then they get this army bonus directly. But of course, the army must be with the division. Here's the 20th army. I keep here more or less because I don't take any units from the 20th. The whole 20th army is here normally in Quantum because I must maintain this 8,000 attack value. So I come close to take out one more division. Normally, if I have 8,500, I will take the next division out. Okay. So Manchukuo is not more much to say. I would only suggest at the beginning of the game, I would always try to push the heavy industry in every city in Manchukuo. And I would concentrate my air wings in Harbin, Mukden, and maybe Port Arthur. And only use these three cities for all your air wings, if you keep them in Manchukuo, to train. And also bring all your armies you don't want use to these three locations. It's easier to maintenance them and keep them in mind. And all this others is once you set up the garrison request, even if they even need this, you never touch them again. I think. Here's maybe something. Here, this is normally already too much. But it's Manchukuo, so I need to keep here 8,000 attack value. So it's normally not so important to really optimize everything. Yeah, we can see here now in around Xi'an, the northern area, that I split here some tank units. Try to move as soon as possible to Yan'an, because I'm not so sure if because Dojo have your official still 12,000 units, and I have in Yan'an only a recon platoon, so this is only light tanks. I have a little stuff more. So I know this is a real tank regiment. I thought this was on a recon. Okay, so but it has only a tech value of 28. This is not too much. So I maybe bring a little additional forces, and then I try to bomb them and reduce the numbers a little more. In the long run, I must bring here some Chinese police force to take over in Yan'an, because I normally don't like to keep Japanese units back in the rear. Yeah, Japanese units must always fight in the front. So my army is here. Enough supplies, and looks like the tech value is good. Nearly all at 100%. No fatigue, no disorder. So this unit is this army is fully ready to fight, and they have nearly 2,000 attack value. So if I can catch Dojo, I think I can maybe force him to surrender, or at least to retreat. But I also run a little short in time now. I must normally run and try to catch him, because Dojo try already to enter the next hex, and then maybe if we go all of Xi'an, because now everything around Xi'an is cut off. I still have a oh, I cannot jump back. I must not do it like this. Oh. Okay, now I'm back. My laptop was frozen. I cannot activate the button for the road and the railway. I can do it, but then it's freeze my laptop for 5 minutes. So there's something not really 100% correct here. But no, what I want to say is here's still one road. You cannot see it on the map, but if you activate the air button, then you can see the real roads. Because this is this game not show you the true roads in railways. Most of the time they are correct, but there are always some offline stuff or off-map stuff. So it's this city is still under supply from this line, because there is a road. Somehow the graphic only shows the road up to here, but in reality the road go to Xi'an. I think there's also a map upgrade mod. You can normally see it, but I never installed it. Anyway, what I want to say is that Xi'an is now closely to surrender. Normally cut off from all the supply lines, so it's be dangerous, because the Dojo have here army, and here an army. This army I block. So far I know he cannot walk this way, because I block him. But my forces in Xi'an are not so strong, so only 300. Of course they are in defense mode, and Xi'an have maybe already some fort level. Yeah, I have a fort level 3 and I build it up to a fort level 4. Because Xi'an I can never lose more. Xi'an is really one of the most important cities in the whole game for the whole Japanese-Chinese war. Xi'an is normally short enough to enter the airspace of Sichuan, and it will normally, it helps immense for the Japanese war effort in this area. It's the same is for the Chinese. If the Chinese can hold Xi'an, they completely normally stop all ongoing war in this area. The Japanese need Xi'an. They cannot normally walk around. If you try to walk here around, the infrastructure is still not good enough. I don't think this will work. Xi'an is a must take for Japan and a must hold for China, but somehow Dojo was a little maybe easygoing at the beginning of the war and not realize that he's in a very, very dangerous situation. But it's Dojo. I think Californian guys are always easygoing. They don't care so much. Center of China is normally no active area for me. I only hold my line and I let Dojo come. I don't have enough forces to attack everywhere at the same time. I choose my yeah my front lines. Important here in around Canton. After I took Wushu is Dojo's Chinese army with 50,000 is still maybe strong. I mean, not crazy strong, but it's a power. And I have here in this hex now only an army with 1,200. So only 20,000 frontline troops. So I have maybe the same numbers of units like Dojo, but he has the defense area. So I cannot attack here, or if I do this, then I maybe suffer high losses. So I wait that I can bring my second army. This is based on the 13th army with 3,000 attack value, but you can see here. Big armies always bring a brick or have always a handicap that they are simply hard to maintenance and to supply. So if you create this kind of strong forces, you must also create supply lines for it. And for me, it's hard simply because in Canton, I have just enough supplies to run the base. 10,000 is the minimum I need. And Hong Kong is also empty, more or less. 10,000 is always the minimum. So, and I think I empty already nearly all of Taiwan. Yeah, I still have a little from Taiwan left. Maybe I can bring 10,000 more supplies from Taiwan over to Hong Kong. I always run here as a continuous supply cargo with supplies. But this shipping line is just enough to normally maintain these two cities because Hong Kong still consume a lot of supplies because I have here still heavy industry under repair. So every day 1,000 supplies burning in Hong Kong and Canton. So 2,000 supplies I burn here per day, only to upgrade my heavy industry. Yeah. It's always a question of balance where you use your supplies for army or for industry. And after you split this in industry, you must choose you want repair or you want create new factories. And for the army, it is maybe more or less you try to the army always consume supplies. The navy consumes supplies. The air force consumes supplies. You always, if you have active units, they will consume supplies. So play active the game means consume more supplies. Not much here to say. Somehow my Japanese army had a not so good day in Rangoon. And my army is now... But I was, I think, low on supplies, but somehow I get now a bunch of supplies over the mountains, and at least for one day I have enough supplies, so I will let them rest now. Because attack value... My main forces is 3 divisions, and this is the support stuff. They are normally still at over 90% TOE, so they can normally still fight. But like I said before, the disruption is still too high, because I think this 30% or 49% and 20% will go directly, will be deducted from this TOE. So if I have here 98%, From this 98%, only at the end 60 or 68% will really attack. And here from the 92, 49 must deduct. So this is why I must get this value under 10 to really attack again. So I better rest one day, especially because I have now the supply, so resting will have an impact. And then I can take the, hopefully, Rangoon. And if I take Rangoon, I can take 1,200 points from Dojo. And I can get an important port. And also with some refineries, and if I'm lucky, the city will not be too damaged. This is always the point. Here in the north or center of Rangoon, my tank units, they're still in good shape. So I had these battles, and even if I don't really win them very fast, but I still steadily, I won every battle, and I nearly not suffer high losses here. I mean, this unit have maybe 14% missing of units, but it's not too damaged so far. They are still ready to fight a little more. So I try to. I think this is the unit I kicked already out of the base, so they are already defeated, and now I must only get rid of them. So fight them, go to the next hex, fight them again, and maybe if I rev this base, and if Dojo don't have here some reinforcements, then I maybe can take all of the center area of Rangoon. Important is here this refinery and this oil, 300 to 100. This will have a big impact and support for my war in Rangoon, because the refinery produce supplies, and this helped me, and the oil is always nice to have. And this is all in this area, so if I can bring the oil down to Rangoon, then I have here also enough oil automatically to fill up the refinery. So I have here 200 plus here 100, so I create here 300 refineries, so 300 supplies per day I can produce in Rangoon local, at least, plus some other stuff. I mean, the other bases, they don't have so much value. I mean, some they care the point. Of course, some bases have high point value, like here for 40, 4, this is not so high, 4, 4. This base is also normally not high point value, but I don't care so much the points. I care normally always industry. For the Japanese, it's simply important to have light, heavy industry, refineries, oil. This is important for the Japanese in the long run. I mean, points are important to win the game, but if I can choose, I want to have better, more refineries and oil and heavy industry, and not so much the points first. Because if I also win this game too quickly, then maybe Dojo is disappointed and run away. And but he normally told me already, even if he lose, he still don't believe he lose, because he told me he never lost so far. He always win with allies. But if he will lose, he want a revanche, and then so I can start again. Maybe in 3 years. So we will see how this Battle of Rangoon will find out. I have here some information, but here's only a patrol ship, and maybe some cargo ship is here locked in the port, cannot leave. I close the port of Rangoon, more or less active now, with some battleship formation. Standard, 2 battleships, 6 destroyers. Always a vice admiral commanding the squadron. This is always 3 admirals. Normally I don't pay for them. Sometimes I pay for them, but most of the time I don't pay for them. And they're blocking simply that nothing can escape, or everything what will try to escape will run in my battleships, and then they're also dead. So this is Rangoon. There's not much more, and because Dojo, I mean, it was of course not possible for Dojo to keep his air force here. I not really use my air force much here. The only thing what I try with my fighters was protect my own troops, not so much to attack him. Up to now. But now after Dojo was forced to get his Hurricanes away, now I can maybe use my bombers to attack Dojo's ground forces, especially after I take Rangoon. I will maybe also relocate my air force to Rangoon, in maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And then I can normally, similar what I do in China, interdict his ground forces, give pressure on them and slow them down so that my army can more easily catch them up and get rid of them. The number one goal is after Rangoon. After I take Rangoon and the oil in the center of Burma, the next big goal is normally to make sure that no British forces can retreat to India. All the forces here in Rangoon I must destroy. So I will normally try to bring my tank units here up, go around and walk and drive on the highway and try to reach this hex before Dojo's big army from Rangoon will escape. If this is possible, I think the whole Rangoon army is doomed. And these are 11 units, and here are 4 more. So maybe if I can get this 15 units destroyed, of course Dojo can rebuild them. But I don't know how much reinforcements the British gets. I think not so much compared to the American, because the British still must fight the Germans in Africa. But this is my strategy. If it's successful, we will see. I mean, I can only hope for this. I can never make it sure. So with the carriers, I think I talked already. The carriers and battleship formations is the whole third, well, I think it's the third India Ocean raid is now over. I have to return. I can check the carrier again shortly. I don't lost too many airplanes. You can see here only, I mean, I lost some. It's not that I lost nothing because I take Colombo. I also have still 50% of my torpedoes. Normally I can still use them, but I'm running low on fuel. And I simply would never ever run in the situation that my task forces are out of fuel. Because it will be simply stupid to run out of fuel, get system damage, and then there's an enemy submarine. And if normally a task force is running out of fuel, I think they are much easier to be attacked by submarines. Yeah, it's I think also a question of command, tactic, and strategy and discipline, not to try too much at once. Yeah, here's the same. Still some torpedoes left, but I'm running too low on fuel. Good, so there's not more much to say. I used, later if I have Rangoon, I will of course build Rangoon for my submarines and cruisers out, but now I normally use Georgetown for my submarines. Or I try to create here something, because it's still a little more north. It will save me 1 or 2 turns for my submarines to return to Georgetown. Georgetown is big enough port, especially if you have a submarine tender here, to normally always resupply your submarines and then send them back direction Colombo, Bombay, something like this. Singapore have of course a shipyard, so if everything gets really damaged, I must bring it to Singapore. Maybe I can check Singapore port. Nagato is still here, but ready already. There's also a cruiser and some destroyers. And you can see that I have now here some ships and still an upgrade pass. Normally you can take them out. You need only the first day or first turn in the shipyard, but these are so small ships, I think. I keep them simply inside because the shipyard has still capacity. And these are the Mekanze APD. And like I said before, Mekanze and I think Kamikaze destroyers. As soon as possible, maybe end of December or after 1 or 2 weeks in the game, I always would try to bring this kind of ships to a port like maybe Hong Kong, or you need a shipyard, I think. So best is Hong Kong or Japan. Bring them back to port and upgrade them to APDs, because these are original, I think, destroyers. but they have a shitty upgrade path. If you change them to APD, they have a better upgrade path. You can. This is the upgrade path. This is after the repair is here done. This is still nothing really crazy good. Low attack value, only shallow water sub equipment, sub hunter equipment. But I get already in August of 42 the next upgrade, and this upgrade is already with deep water. Still not the good one, but at least deep water is equipment, and a radar. And again, because sometimes there's always confusion of this. This attack, anti-submarine attack, is really only a number, and this will more or less only tell you how many mounts you have here. So you have a single mount, but you have two of them in the rear. So this APD can, in one cycle or one turn, can drop 2 bombs. This is only a number, but this tells nothing about what you are dropping, the quality of the depth charters. So, and for this you must normally check the technology panel. Like I said before, this one can attack deep water. This one cannot attack deep water. For the allies, I think it's similar stuff, but I don't know so much. Maybe the allies, they can always attack deep water. I'm not so sure. But for the Japanese, it's really a big change. This Type 95 can only attack shallow water. First, if you have this modification too, you can attack deep water. The problem is, even if you create a hit with this kind of equipment, it still only will have small damage if you don't make a critical hit. So it is still just so, but it is at least possible to attack deep water. You normally need much better equipment. Later on, I think you can get it. This one, this is also important. This sub chaser, the normal one, they have already this deep water. This is the big difference. Sub chasers, the normal one without an A at the end, they I call them already, or I call them more or less deep water sub chasers or true sub chasers. Because the shallow one, I don't have a shallow one here. Have any shallow one? Yeah. The shallow one, they have only the standard 95. And you get an upgrade for this ship, but this upgrade will only, I think, increase the anti-aircraft to a 16. Before it's 11, so it doesn't matter normally, because they only changed one heavy machine gun to a machine cannon. But this is normally doesn't matter. This is all short range stuff, and it will never have enough impact to defend this ship against any air attack. Most important is, but only to end this story, you start this game with anti-submarine 8. So it looks normally on paper super great and powerful, but only in shallow water. And the next problem is, yeah, high numbers, but each of this bomb is so small and the impact on the submarine is tiny. So you must create maybe 10 to 15 hits to sink a submarine. With the better technology, you maybe only need 2-3 hits to sink the submarine. So it is important to understand the deeper meaning of equipment in this game. Not only numbers. Most of the time you can care about numbers, but especially for this anti-submarine stuff, it's maybe really important. And maybe also only to explain this once, I mean most maybe understand it. The Nagato battleship, only to make an example. If you see here the numbers and you see the star, star is always meaning anti-aircraft. So it means this kind of weapons cannot make anti-aircraft. This kind of stuff means it can make anti-aircraft. Can also make surface, but they are dual purpose. And this means they are anti-aircraft. This also means that the anti-aircraft gun, the big one, is 16,000 yards. So this is long range stuff. This also means if Dojo's Navy bombers come in 17,000 feet, This ship cannot use any flag, or it will have no impact at least, because no flag shell can reach the airplane. What I also want to say is, for the Japanese, there is only long-range flag and short-range flag. Long-range flag will also defend a fleet. So if there's an air attack on a ship, the whole fleet, long-range flag, will try to attack the enemy aircraft first. Check. After this, the airplane will attack the ship. Then the next check will be that all of these flag guns will try to attack, but depending on the altitude level of the airplane. So it's a level bomber, then maybe the short range will not work. The Japanese normally never upgrade the heavy anti-aircraft stuff. They only upgrade the short range stuff. So the Japanese anti-aircraft stuff gets much higher numbers later on, like 6. We can maybe check this here. So you can see the next upgrade. This has first no impact because it only gets radar. And this is in June of 43. So Japanese battleship must wait to June of 43 to get any radar. And the anti-aircraft is still, they would say, shitty. This is 1 year later. Then you can see there's a big jump. So the anti-aircraft gets much better. But the heavy anti-aircraft is still the same. The only thing what the Japanese add on is a lot of this short-range anti-aircraft. This will help against torpedo attack. Mainly, I would say, against I think for torpedo bombers this is good. But for dive bombers, this will not have too much impact. It will help, but this will not really help. And for level bombers, this have no help at all. Then we get radar here. And these are only these 2 upgrades. So this Nagato only gets 2 upgrades. The first upgrade is radar. Of course, radar is nice, but it's only aircraft radar, so it will only give more reaction time. So it is not a surface radar, so it will not help in night on surface battle. For this, I must wait up to June of 44. So the Japanese are around 2 years behind radar technology of the Americans. Cannot change this. So this was only a short discussion about this kind of stuff. I mean, I explained it already many times, and most of people they know already, but I won't even tell it. Anyway, Singapore is a little low on supplies, you can see here. Normally I like to have here at least 20,000, but this is now, so April is more or less the most critical day or time for me, at least now. I think in 2-3 weeks I starting to ramp up more supplies, but I'm really now at the lowest point of supplies more or less. And I have a little issue with this, and I must slow down my operations because of this, especially my navy and air operations. Yeah, but at the end, this is like it is. I have here a lot of air power. Maybe we can open this shortly. And a lot of it is on training, ground attack, or recon, scout, whatever. Palmbang, I show already that most of the equipment is fine, so I start the repair. I have also I have at least 24,000 supplies, so I can repair 14 factories or 14 units here, but I repair both oil and refinery, but not the rest. Manpower, resources, never ever repair this. Make no sense. So I will try to use my force now here to clean up this area, especially the space I need, because there's still a lot of oil. If I can take this, will be also nice. I think the rest have no real impact. Here was something. No? Maybe here? Here's some resources. Here's also some resources. So even if there's only a dot and not a real base, better take them. It will help. And yeah, this is the rest of Sumatra. So not more much left, and only these Dutch forces. I try to get rid of them. I also, yeah, cut off Dojo's forces here. They will starve now, and sooner or later they must die. My poor carrier, not carrier, but my cruiser formation here now with color, now you can see it. I also running shittily out of fuel. It always comes together because I am here on full speed to at least try to escape. But this burns, of course, is a lot of fuel and will increase my system damage. And also maybe my engine damage. But I have no choice. So I have now really... I must... I bring here everything what I can close to support my unit. So I bring here everything I have in destroyers, cruisers. No, this is not... yeah. Because I'm running out of fuel, I also bring here some AOs. But the problem is my AOs are slow speed. So it's a little desperate situation. It's a little because I'm still not really ready to use Soabaya. Normally, if I had maybe 3-4 turns more, I have all this equipment already in Soabaya, then the distance is shorter. But now I run all of this stuff out of Singapore. And yeah, this is it is like it is here. More light cruisers. So this is only a... So I also don't have here too much equipment. Simply everything is on the way, what I have. But I don't have too much here. No battleships. Only heavy cruisers, light cruisers. But I try to more or less merge with this damage unit and then bring it back to Soabaya, and then I can start the repair. If I can at least save one heavy cruiser, it will be fine. And no, the destroyers are normally not the issue, but this the Kumano is with 44 flotation damage, of course, really very, very close to a critical situation. The Mogami maybe have a better with only 29 flotation damage. Yeah, we will see. At the end, like I said before, if I will try to bring my submarines here near to Perth, and if I can get one more torpedo hit, then maybe there's a chance to kill the Ramelis. At least one more torpedo hits, and then this battleship will be for sure out of service for at least 1 year, maybe even 2 years. Because it's now already heavy damage. And every additional damage will extend this out of action or out of service time critical time more. What else I can say? Australia. Yeah, maybe shortly about Darwin. I normally don't push here much more. I only take this islands to make sure that Dojo don't have here anything. I must normally take Timor, but I also don't push this too much. I have no forces left for this. Most of my Navy Guard units I sent to Rabaul to help there. My big army units fighting in Java, Sumatra, and Burma. And Timor is... It's if Dojo don't try something crazy, it's normally not so important for me. I can take it later. I must take it later, but it's not on the high priority. I still try to finish here the spaces. There are still some Dutch units, but also not much left. So end of April, I normally want to finish this all. Yeah, you can see also that I enter with 2 Navy Guard units here already. Dojo have here still 7 units. Maybe this scout information are not so best. So maybe there are more units. But I mean, there are 7 units, but maybe more guys. More army soldiers. But I already transfer my big army away. I don't know where they are now. They arrived already. So we are resting now. Because we are unloading. I already arrived last turn, and then I say, okay, unloading, rest, try to get the disruption and the fatigue down. Then I have the 16th and the 14th army together, and then I can march on Batavia. And once I have Batavia, I can think about the next steps. So I think latest in 2 weeks, all of Java is under Japanese control. Maybe a little slow, but not too slow. So, and on Perth, oh no, on Darwin. Yeah, Darwin is here. And normally Dojo's bombers, they have a range of, I think maximum 20. I mean, he can attack here, 18. But I don't see any target is important for him attack. Because the only thing what I care is normally Soabaya. But this is a range of 30. No bomber can reach so far. And Bali Papan, 27. He is also oil, 28. This is out of range. So out of Darwin, Dojo can never attack this kind of oil facility. He even cannot attack this street of Makassar Strait. So not out of Darwin. I only must make sure that I take Timor, because Timor, of course, is maybe in range. So here normally is a big airbase. This is still possible, maybe with 19 and 18. But I never saw Dojo's bombers coming in this direction. So I don't know if it's really important to take Darwin. Yeah, maybe. But we will see. I don't know how is my situation now here in Port Moresby. Port Moresby, I arrived already with base forces, so I bring here base forces with navy support because it's a true port. I keep here one navy guard unit. This is enough normally to defend this base forever. Americans say they can never kick out elite Japanese soldiers, so and then I try to build up here this base. Still a little damage. So I have here still damage port, damage airfield. And then if this is done, I can start to build out the port. Maybe port level 3 is enough, or 4 maximum. Airfield maybe also 4. 4 is maybe enough. I don't need here much more. I don't want to invest here too much supplies. Then I will only install here some maybe fighters, navy bombers, and some scout planes, only to make sure that he never ever can any fleet undetected pass this street. But I don't have much more to say for this. Tulagi, I will normally try to bring more stuff in the future. I already have stuff here on the way, and also a lot of supplies. Tulagi, I would say, is important. Shortlands I can normally skip. I have here some equipment, but I will only create here some small airfield 2 maybe, port of 3, only to have a backup solution, but not much more. Tulagi, I would say, is more important because you have here a big port. If possible, you can make it out of a port 6. Also airfield of 4 or 5 is enough. Many more maybe want maybe go for... Wait. I don't know more where it is. It is... Ah yeah, here. Yeah. Lunga. This is an airport capacity of 5. So you can make out of this an airfield of 8. I think this is only interesting for maybe 4 engine bombers. I'm not more sure how big the airfield must be for 4 engine. The Japanese don't have them, so this is maybe for Dojo interesting to take this base. But I don't want here install anything new. Tolagi had already some equipment, so I stick to this. So if Dojo let me install here some equipment, I try to bring here some anti-aircraft stuff, of course, some base forces, and then if I have an airfield, and I also bring my Zero fighters here, and after I have the Zero fighters, I bring Navy scout planes, and at the end also some Nell bombers, or Betty bombers. And then I have here maybe local air, I mean, at least I can defend my own base. And out of this base, I can normally attack Luganville. Even with outdrop tanks, I can fly with Zeros. is on the way, and I'm still in supply again. So somehow I bring enough supplies over the mountains. But I think this will also not be able for a long time, especially if I now enter the mountains. It's getting more and more complicated. And then it's important if I can take the base scening fast, quickly, without much resistance, then I maybe have an opportunity to destroy this northern Chinese army and turn back. But if this ends bad, then maybe my army is here locked, and Dojo will maybe try to bring his new Chinese reinforcements to Xi'an, and then I don't know, because my second big army is also here locked. I cannot move away. So there's simply not much units left, and I have only this third army. They must maybe save the day. They must save Xi'an. Okay. So, and here in the Mongolai, I think there's no big change. I only try to move on the capital, Oromichi, and if I can take this and this base, I think it's enough. If I ever will walk to this far away base only to catch 20 points, not so sure. There's also nothing else. And it's a really long one, but maybe I do it. Not so sure. Thank you all. See you again. If you have more questions, please ask. Take care. Bye-bye.